welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Take a breath, because what we're about to unpack will rattle even the most seasoned followers of celebrity love stories. If you watch every glance, decode every caption, and live for those heart-stopping twists in the lives of the stars, this one is going to stay with you. It's the kind of headline you think you're prepared for until it actually arrives. And it has arrived. Stay with us, and if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss a single ripple from today's storm. We're here for the truth behind the whispers, the context behind the photos, and the story behind the statement. Mark the date. It's November 6, 2025, and the screens are flashing the same line everywhere, a staggering turn in the saga of Mert and Afra. For ages, at events, in exclusive interviews, on bustling Istanbul nights, they were the pair that never needed to try too hard. Their energy seemed effortless, their presence magnetic. Fans swore you could spot their connection from across a room. It was in the shoulder touches, the private smiles, the tiny pauses where words weren't needed. They looked like two people who understood the noise and chose each other anyway. They weren't just arm in arm at premieres, they were partners in momentum. Joint ads, magazine shoots that broke the internet, long hours on set that birthed iconic scenes, and an entire culture of fan edits. People didn't just watch them, they rooted for them. They became that soft place for audiences to dream, a modern fairy tale that felt plausible because it was rooted in two very real careers and two very real personalities navigating fame with some grace and a lot of grit. Their public image glowed, yes, but it also felt grounded. Which is why today's development hit like a slap of ice. Because sometime in the early morning hours, something shifted from rumor to reality. First, a trickle of images, blurry, unmoored, the kind of photos that demand context, made the rounds. Then came a precise, carefully worded statement. Together, those two pieces rewrote everything we thought we knew. It is now official, Mert and Afra are no longer together. The words were controlled, respectful, the familiar cadence of mutual decisions and continuing to value one another. The kind of phrasing that aims to soften a blow that cannot be softened. If the story had ended there, we would have exhaled and called it a sad but ordinary page in a celebrity chapter. But the day had other plans. As hours passed, the undertow of speculation became a whirlpool. Suddenly, the tidy narrative of an amicable separation was too neat to accommodate everything bubbling to the surface. Voices close to their circle suggested a different texture to the ending, freight threads, quiet distance, and the clatter of a third presence where there used to be only two. And here is where care is critical, because what we're hearing still sits in the realm of rumor. But the whisper is loud, a person familiar to both of them, someone not alien to their world, someone who has shared rooms, cameras, or stages before. That detail, if true, redraws the map of the last few months. Social media responded faster than any publicist ever could. The tags with their names shot to the top of global trends in a blink. One corner grieved, sending messages of love to Mert, aching for the image of a man who had been so openly proud of what they seemed to have. Another corner tried to hold space for Afra, insisting that not all endings are betrayals, that sometimes two good people simply stop moving in the same direction. And then there are the chaos chasers, tracking every photo, every follow, every timestamp as if arranging puzzle pieces will repair what's broken. Forums are stacked with timelines charting who stood where, who traveled when, who smiled too long at what party, and whether that moment we all thought was charming last month was really a red flag. We made the calls that needed to be made. Here's what we can tell you without blurring the line between reporting and reckless guessing. People who know the couple say the shift wasn't gradual so much as it was sudden in feeling, even if the roots may have been growing in silence. Mert, according to multiple voices, noticed it first. Not something dramatic, but a pattern, a slipping of shared rituals, fewer evening debriefs, a new quiet at the end of long days. He tried to read it as stress, fatigue, the ordinary wear and tear of two busy lives. He reportedly pushed for talks, for clarity. The intent was to fix, not to fight. But attempts to patch the foundation didn't take. Then came the rumor that detonated everything. It centers on Afra and a moment that might have crossed a line while the relationship was still intact on paper. The word encounter has been used more than once by those daring to speak at all. But we'll stop short of naming anyone, because we will not set a match to unverified accusations. What matters is the framework, The alleged third figure isn't a stranger from a distant world but a familiar face within their shared professional universe. The picture this paints is less of a scandalized fling and more of an emotional drift that found a landing place if it happened the way people claim. Close to Mert, the mood is bruised. The story we're hearing sketches a man wrestling with betrayal more than with loss itself. Not just the breakup, the method of arrival. The sense that the honesty he banked on didn't show up when it mattered most. That he believed they were riding toward a future with room for growth pangs and rough edges, and that he was prepared to do the work. When someone in that mindset is confronted with signs that the script was quietly revised, it shakes the floor. He's said to be leaning on a small, tight circle, avoiding the noise, focusing on work whenever he can, and walking away from rooms that are full of people who want only to extract a quote. From Afra's side, or at least from sources who position themselves near her perspective, the language is different. The relationship, they say, had been straining under communication that got messy and mismatched priorities that would not align. Not a dramatic blowout but a deterioration, with pauses that lasted a little too long and apologies that landed a little too late. They dispute the idea of betrayal as a deliberate act and describe, instead, a connection that grew in the margins. Something that might have begun with innocent conversations and expanded into a space it shouldn't have occupied. That framing doesn't absolve, it complicates. And complicated is what this entire day has been. The fallout is everywhere. Clips from their last interviews are being rewatched, parsed for subtext. A glance that once felt tender now reads as foreshadowing to some. A dry joke now lands as sorrow. Their fans, passionate, loyal, and used to defending them, are navigating grief in real time. People who have never met them are taking sides, narrating motives, and writing endings that neither of them authorized. Yet this is what happens when a relationship lives in thousands of pockets and on millions of screens. People feel invested, sometimes too invested. What gets lost in the frenzy is the fact that a breakup, however public, is still two private hearts trying to make sense of a collapse. What's next? That is the question ricocheting around the industry today. Will either of them step up to a camera and answer the hardest questions? Will there be clarity around the photos that sparked the initial spiral? Are the projects they were circling together brand deals, campaigns, maybe even scenes that were meant to be filmed, going to be paused or reimagined? There's talk of a longer statement to come, or separate messages that detail more than the first calm press note. There's also a real chance that silence will be the strategy, at least for a while, because every word can be refashioned into a headline by morning. If you strip away the glare, what remains is familiar. Two people tried to hold a center as schedules pulled them outward. Affection and history stood strong until they didn't. Tempers may not have exploded, but hurt did. A third presence may have complicated the math, or maybe it simply revealed fractures that were already there. It's rarely black or white. And no matter how much we analyze, there are rooms we were never in and conversations we will never hear. That is the boundary, and it is one worth respecting even as we try to understand the story as it spills into the public square. So here we are. November 6, 2025, stamped in the archive as the day the shimmering narrative of Mert and Afra altered course. The official word says separation by mutual choice, the quieter chorus suggests layered reasons, and the loudest rumor insists a third figure had a hand in the timetable. Mert, by all accounts, is deeply shaken. Afra, by other accounts, has been wrestling with disconnection for longer than anyone wanted to admit. Social feeds are on fire. Industry insiders are calculating ripple effects. And all of us are watching a chapter close in real time, half stunned and half unsurprised that even the brightest stories can be fragile where it counts. We'll keep following with care, no rush to judgment, no names to feed the blaze, only the updates that can be held up to the light. Drop your thoughts below. Did you sense the distance before today? How do you read the divide between a clean press statement and the Messier whispers underneath? Tell us what you noticed, what you're bracing for, and what you hope happens from here. If this breakdown left you with more questions than answers, you're not alone. It's the nature of endings to be thorny. If you found our deep dive helpful, stay with Whispers of Turkish Stars. Like, share, and subscribe so you're here when the next piece of this puzzle lands. We'll be ready with context, compassion, and the kind of careful reporting that keeps the story human even when the headlines go feral. Until then, think of two people you've watched grow in front of you, and remember that behind the picture-perfect glow there are sleepless nights, hard choices, and the ordinary ache of goodbye. We'll see you in the next one, with eyes open and hearts steady.